Hi guys, today we are going to be working on our color wheel. In the first video, we worked on drawing out our circle and dividing it up into 12 equal sections. And remember, we are just striving to make it look as close as possible. Okay, and I have already designed my circle here. Okay, so these are set up to look like colored pencils. If you don't see it now, I promise, well, I hope that you will eventually. Okay, when we're working on this, remember you have to have 4 sections. Okay, so each of mine are all even. You can come up with a different idea. If you want each section to be different, you can do that. If you want each section to be exactly the same, that's fine. If you want a picture that looks more like a scene, you can do that. That's totally fine too. The sky is the limit pretty much, as long as it's school appropriate and as long as you are getting all of the colors for each section. Okay, so I have, mine's pretty even, but you can see 4 colors here, and I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the color yellow, just because I have it here and I like the color yellow. And I'm going to show you how we're doing this. So my plan for this, because I have planned out where things are going to go, I think that my regular hue is going to be this section right up here. I think that my complementary color is going to be this zigzag. I think my tint, which is lighter, is going to be here, and then the darker color is going to be down here. So I'm going to go ahead and paint in my regular color here for yellow, right? So I have my yellow, and I'm just going to paint this in here. Okay, and I'm being super, super careful. If you have a really complicated design, something that you might consider doing is outlining your design with an ultra fine Sharpie. Okay, I would not outline the lines that slice it. I would just outline the actual design itself. Okay, later on we can think about outlining, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, so I'm just painting plain yellow because this is my section for yellow. And I'm painting this super carefully. Just like this. Okay, I'm also trying to make sure that I have a nice even coverage and that I'm painting nice and smoothly. Okay, I feel pretty good about this so far. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next thing. So I have a little bit of yellow on my brush. I am going to take a little bit of white to mix my yellow here. Actually, I take that back. Before I get to that part, I kind of got ahead of myself. I want to show you a trick that will help you out, especially later on, is while you're painting one color, I want you to look at the complementary color on the other side and go ahead and paint that as well. Okay, for yellow, it's not a big deal because it's just plain yellow, that's it. But the really nice thing is if you make a really good blue-green, while you still have that blue-green, it makes a lot of sense to just go over here and paint where the blue-green is supposed to go on the opposite side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take my brush, get a little bit more paint, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the yellow. So I know that straight across is violet, and I know that yellow and violet are complementary colors, so I'm going to go ahead and paint in the section that I planned for my complementary colors. Okay, and again, I'm painting just as carefully as possible. I want this to look nice and neat. I don't want any paper showing through. Okay, and because my yellow is lighter, I'm kind of letting it overlap just a little bit because I can always come back and clean that up with the violet paint afterwards. Okay, so I'm lining through here. Cool. And then the other nice thing about this is that once I get to the violet part, this will already be dry. So I don't really have to worry about accidentally blending my colors and ending up with kind of a muddied color because this will already be good to go. Okay, I am going to rotate my paper so that part is out of my way. Okay, so I have my yellow here. Like I said, I had some yellow on here. I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow and white together. Okay, so I have some yellow here. I'm going to take a little bit of the white, and I'm going to mix this to make it lighter. Okay, now right now it looks very close to my regular yellow, and I want it to be different enough that whenever my teacher grades it, she definitely knows that that's the tint and not just the same color painted twice. It's me, I'm your teacher. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that this is definitely light enough. And if I end up not making it the exact right color, the cool thing is I can just let it dry for a little bit and I can come back and repaint it. Okay, so I think this is pretty good, this little color right here. And my tint, so my tint is the yellow and white mixed together, and I'm going to put my tint here. So again, I'm painting in super carefully, right along this line here. All right. Okay, so I've kind of outlined everything, and I want to go back and just kind of smooth out my painting a little bit. So I'm just going to take the paint that's still on my brush and kind of smooth out my brush strokes a little bit. Make sure it's nice and even application. Might even take a little bit more from my pile that I made over here. Just to make sure it's nice and smooth. Ta-da! Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush out, and I'm going to make my shade here. Now, a shade is where you take black and add that to your base color, your hue. Okay, now remember, yellow is very easily overpowered, and black can be very overpowering because it has a lot of concentrated pigment there. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of yellow here. I say a little bit, that's a pretty decent amount, huh? Okay, I'm going to take this yellow and I'm going to put it, I know I'm running out of space. Let's put, I'm going to set it here because this is dry. I need to clean out my palette. I'm going to take a tiny bit of black here. Maybe that was too much. Okay, I have a small amount, and I'm going to mix this in, and I can always add more black to this. Okay, you always, whenever you're mixing colors, you always want to take the darker color and add that to the lighter color. Do not try to take a bunch of yellow and mix that into that little spot of black there because it will take forever. Okay, and so I have my color mixed here, and I think this is pretty good. I might change my mind. I'm going to go ahead and paint this top section here, which is how I intended it to go. Ooh, I do think I want that to be a little darker. Now, an interesting thing happens when you mix yellow and black paint. It gets kind of like a greenish color almost. Don't be alarmed, that's totally normal. I don't know why it's like that. I actually usually think about on SpongeBob, you know the spongy part where how he has like those holes and they look kind of greenish. I really think that's just like a yellow, like a shade of yellow instead of being actually green. And it makes sense that those would be a little bit darker. So I just kind of make things okay with myself that way. I think I'm going to go a tiny bit darker. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to take a little bit more. Because I think I'm close, but I'm just not quite there. Now, you don't want to add so much that it gets super, super dark because then it gets really hard to tell the difference in color. I think that's a little bit better. Okay, and I'm going to let this dry for just a second. I will be right back. Okay, so I added another layer after it dried. I did overgo the line a little bit, which is totally fine because I'm not going to paint here just yet. But then you would move on either to like your yellow green or your yellow orange, whatever you're feeling. But it is nice to kind of move in one direction just because you can start kind of blending those colors, sort of like we did when we talked about our complementary color blend. Okay, so you can see how I have my 3 here for yellow, right? My complementary color will go here and I will paint that violet in once I get over to this side here, just to make it easy on myself. Okay, So again, if you make the perfect yellow-orange, go ahead and paint the yellow-orange that goes on the opposite side over here, just to make it easy for yourself. You know that saying, work smarter, not harder? This is definitely a good tip for that. Okay, so that is how you start on your color wheel. Again, you'll want to use the smaller detailed brushes. If you do not have those at your seat, come see me, we'll talk about it. We'll get it all figured out for you.